Oh my god.
What do we do?
Oh my god, you baby birded Grandpa Jay.
There's something almost poetic about watching one of the most awkward families in studio comedy walk straight back into disaster, and this time. The chaos doesn't start with Greg Focker trying to impress someone. It starts with someone new walking into the family and instantly doing what Greg never could. She wins everybody over. That alone tells me Focker In-Law knows exactly what kind of sequel it wants to be. I'm talking about the long-awaited fourth movie in the franchise that started with Meet the Parents back in 2000. And honestly, the new trailer makes it feel like Universal understands the assignment. This isn't trying to reinvent the series from the ground up. It's trying to revive the tension, the embarrassment, and the family power struggle that made the first movie such a huge hit in the first place. Focker In-Law hits theaters on November 25th. And the setup is classic in the smartest way. Greg and Pam are now the parents, and their son is bringing home the woman he wants to marry. On paper, that should create a natural passing of the torch moment. But instead of Greg smoothly stepping into a wiser, calmer role, the trailer suggests he's about to become the exact kind of insecure, panicked mess that once defined him. And that's where the comedy starts breathing again. Ben Stiller returns as Greg. Terry Polo is back as Pam. Robert De Niro returns as Jack Burns. Blythe Danner is back. And Owen Wilson is also returning as Kevin. On top of that, Skylar Gisondo and Beanie Feldstein play Greg and Pam's kids, while Ariana Grande steps in as Olivia, the new fiancée who immediately changes the family dynamic in ways Greg clearly does not like. The trailer, which Universal first unveiled at CinemaCon before releasing it online, leans hard into that central joke. Jack gives Olivia a lie detector test, which is already a great callback, but the bigger twist is what happens around it. Greg walks in and realizes Olivia thinks he may not be the best father for Henry. That would already be enough to trigger every Greg Focker insecurity in the book, but the trailer adds another layer. Jack likes Olivia a lot, and that's the real fuel here, because if you remember the original Meet the Parents, the entire comedic engine was built around Greg desperately trying to earn Jack's approval and failing in spectacular fashion. Now the new movie flips that energy. Olivia seems to earn trust almost instantly, maybe even more easily than Greg ever did, and that puts Greg in a position he absolutely hates. He's no longer just the anxious outsider. He might be the threatened insider. That reversal gives the sequel a reason to exist beyond nostalgia. Universal's poster pushes that same idea visually. Jack stands proudly with Olivia, looking completely comfortable, while Greg is literally cut off at the edge of the frame, trying to squeeze himself into a picture that doesn't seem built for him anymore. It's a simple image, but it says a lot. Greg is once again losing control of the room, and maybe losing control of where he fits in this family. What really stands out to me is how aggressively the movie seems to be reaching back to the original trilogy's DNA. The lie detector is back. There's at least one moment hinting at another potentially chaotic dog encounter. The rhythm of the jokes, the pressure of the family interactions, even the way Greg looks overwhelmed all feel designed to remind audiences why this series worked when it was firing on all cylinders. That can be a strength, but it can also be the danger. The biggest question for me is whether Focker In-Law is just borrowing the best pieces of Meet the Parents, or whether it actually has enough confidence to build something new around them. Because references alone won't carry a movie this size. If the callbacks are just there to make audiences point at the screen, that gets old fast. But if they're being used to deepen Greg's new role as the family member now facing replacement, then there's something much richer happening underneath the comedy. And honestly, Ariana Grande might be the wild card that decides whether this thing really works. She's not just a celebrity name dropped into the trailer for attention. Everything about the early footage suggests she understands the tone. Olivia is polished, hyper-capable, disarmingly charming, and maybe just a little too perfect. That kind of character can either become flat very quickly or become the exact kind of chaos agent a movie like this needs. The trailer strongly hints at the second option. She connects with the entire family. She wins Jack over. And according to comments tied to the film's early promotion, she's basically Greg's nightmare scenario. That's funny on its own. But it's even funnier because the movie doesn't seem interested in making Olivia the villain. It looks like Greg is the one spiraling. Greg is the one projecting. Greg is the one quietly realizing he may be stuck in the same emotional panic loop all over again. That's a very good comedic hook, especially for audiences who grew up watching him stumble through humiliation 25 years ago. If it balances old-school discomfort comedy with a genuine generational shift, Focker In-Law could become much more than a lazy franchise extension. It could be a sharp continuation about aging, family rules, insecurity, and the terror of watching somebody else become the version of you the room actually prefers. That idea is hilarious, but it's also a little painful. And the best entries in this franchise always understood that embarrassment lands harder when it feels emotionally real. What I also like is that the movie seems aware of how public perception around this series has changed. The older films were built on cringe, suspicion, and that unbearable social anxiety Greg carried into every room. Today, audiences still respond to that, but only if the movie knows how to update the emotional target. This time the fear isn't just meeting the family, it's getting quietly replaced inside your own family. That's a sharper, more modern pressure point, and it gives the sequel a reason to matter. The commercial upside is obvious too. The original films made over $1 billion worldwide combined, which means the brand still carries real weight. If this new movie connects with longtime fans and also gives younger viewers a reason to invest, Universal could have one of the more surprising crowd pleasers of the holiday season on its hands. But for me, the real test is simpler. Does the movie make Greg Focker feel painfully relatable again? Does it trap him in situations that are funny because they're excruciatingly human? Does it understand that the best laughs in this series don't come from noise alone, but from watching one man slowly realize he is losing the social battle in real time? And maybe the most important thing is this: does the movie trust awkward silence, social humiliation, and bruised pride more than oversized gimmicks? Because that is where this franchise has always been strongest, not in chaos by itself, but in the slow-motion collapse of a man trying to stay polite while his world starts laughing at him. From what this first trailer shows, it just might, and if that happens, Focker In-Law won't just be a reunion. It could be the first time in a long time that this franchise actually feels dangerous again in the best comedic sense. Uncomfortable, petty, competitive, deeply personal. Exactly what it needs to be. So yes, I'm in. And I have a feeling a lot of people who thought this series had already said everything it needed to say may be in for a very awkward surprise. Stay with me here on Screen Radar, because if this movie delivers on that tension, we may be looking at one of the most unexpectedly fun studio comedies of the year. And trust me, I'll be right here for every uncomfortable second of it.